Hello friends, Charlie Murphy here. Thank you for choosing my video. Today we're playing a little 1-2 no limit hold'em 6 max games on Ignition. It looks like a regular player opening from the cutoff on table 3. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet ace-jack suited out of my small blind. Get a queen-jack-8 rainbow board. Very scary coordinated board. However, I do have all the real strong hands. I'm going to be 3-betting queens, jacks, 8s, and 10-9 suited for the nut straight pre-flop. So I am going to go ahead and put in a small range bet on this board, mostly checking turns with this particular hand. Get called. Interesting turn card. Makes a pretty decent 2-pair for me. I think I want to be a bit more polarized, though. I think I want to be betting my sets and my straights, my 9-10, my king-10. I think I want to be checking my 2-pair type hands, so I have some strong hands in the check line out of position as well. Table 1, I'll open deuces under the gun, especially with the recreational players out there. Player in the big blind's been pretty special so far. Table 3, it checks through. I've got aces up, ace and jacks at offsuit 6 is a nice blank river. I'm going to go ahead and reopen, start trying to get some value. Probably tough for me to have bluffs on that board. I think I need to be turning something like pocket 7s into a bluff. Queen, jack, 8, ace, 6. So any aces top pair. King X type hands have largely paired up as well, or have made a straight. I guess I could have king 9 for a bluff there in that line. Pocket 7s. Very hard to find bluffs on that board. I'm going to be turning some of my weakest showdown value hands into bluffs. Maybe even a hand like jack 10 should be bluffed with at that point. Table 3 will open king-queen from middle position. Big blind comes along, get an ace-king-8 two-tone board. Could really size up on a board like this because I've got all the aces, kings, ace-king, and he doesn't have any of them. I'm just going to go ahead and keep my life a bit simpler, though, and use the small bet anywhere I can at the moment. Go ahead and put in the small bet with king-queen, mostly checking turns here. If I was going to size up, I would be checking back a hand like king-queen for sure, as it's a really good candidate to play in the check back line. Turn is the jack of clubs. I don't have a club in my hand. I don't really think I'm going to fold out too many weak ace-x pairs. Not going to get value from enough worse. I think this hand is going to play really well in the check back line here. I'd be using a smaller size on that straight and flush completing turn. I think I'd be betting half pot as opposed to over betting here, but I will go ahead and check back the king-queen. Look to get it towards showdown. Maybe bluff catch, maybe value bet. Facing a 2/3 bet. This is a guy, I've got him tagged as a fish, but he doesn't seem that fishy. I don't know why I have him tagged as a fish. He might have been playing shorter. But he doesn't seem to be doing fishy things or have fishy stats. That's probably a mistake. He's probably a reg. He's betting about 75% or about 2/3 from out of position. It's a very coordinated board. The ace-high flops tend to be a bit bluffy or a bit less bluffy than average, as do the 3 Broadway boards. That sizing is maybe slightly over bluff, but not nearly as dramatically as the texture patterns tell me that it's going to be less bluffy than average. I think I can actually go ahead and fold this. I don't have great removal without a club in my hand either. Although I guess he could be value betting non-flushes for that size, so maybe the removal's not as important. But I just don't think we're going to see nearly enough bluffs on that triple Broadway board, ace-high board, flush closing board. If he bet smaller, I would have been suckered into a call for that three-fourth-ish type bet or larger. I think I should actually fold against a player that I perceive to be a reg. Table 2 will open kings from middle position. Everyone folds except the big blind. Get a dream flop for kings, king 5 deuce two-tone. I'll go ahead and put in a small bet. Comes along for the call. Turn is the 8 of spades, flush closing turn. I am going to keep betting to try to get value from pocket pairs with the single spade, stuff like that. I don't want to use the overbet size here, as he can have plenty of flushes, as can I. I don't think we need to be using a big bet on that particular card. So I'm going to go ahead and go for a half pot bet instead. And I take it down. Table 4 will open 10-8, blind on blind. Table 4 opening again, this time from the button with Jack 9. Small blind comes along for a call. He's been playing very wide so far pre-flop. And calling out of the small blind against a button open. We may have a recreational player there. I need to see a bit more to make that determination. He does check to me after calling on the queen 10 deuce rainbow board. I'll go ahead and put in a small bet. Look to be barreling pretty aggressively on most turn cards here with my open, then to draw. Face a small check raise, and a hand like Jack 9 is a great hand to defend the check raise with on a queen 10 deuce rainbow board. Table 1 faced a blind on blind 3x open from a recreational player. I call with 5s and hit my set. Hit my straight on table 4 as well. Cards are running well at the moment. He continues blasting into my nut straight now on table 4. I'm going to obviously continue. I'll continue for a call to keep his weak hands or bluffs in there. Table 1, we're not really that deep. I'm going to give him a chance to keep blasting. Just going to go ahead and flat. He goes ahead and jams into me. I've got the nuts, so I'm going to call off. He's got ace 3, so I don't know what he was doing on that turn. Flop check raise is okay with the backdoor flush draw, but I think the turn barrel and the river dust off is just a total punt. Flush closing turn on table 1 from this fish, but I'm going to continue calling with my set. Not really all that worried about being beat. Not the greatest river. Now there's a 4 straight out there too. Pretty sure it's the same guy. He left the table but came right back earlier when he completely spazzed out. Like I said, he seems to be a pretty special type player. He checks. I'm not really sure there's a ton of merit in trying to get value out of this hand at this point, so I think I may have to check it down instead. Although he is a fish, I'm actually going to go in for a half pot and try to steal some value from this guy. Table 2, going to go ahead and 3-bet the cutoff with ace-king against the 3x under the gun open. I get 4-bet instantly. Ace-king for 100 blinds deep. There's just not much to think about here. I'm going to go ahead and shove all in with my ace-king suited, and my pocket kings. Can call with hands like queens, jacks, ace-queen suited, and trap with aces in this formation. Ace-king is just going to play so much better jamming all in and maybe picking up that pot pre-flop. In my suspected wreck, I think we can go ahead and give him the full-blown wreck tag after that ace-3 spaz hand from a few minutes ago. Table 2, I get a 2.5x open from the middle position player. I'm going to go ahead and 3-bet my big blind with ace-jack suited. He comes along quickly for a call. We get a king 4-3 rainbow board. I'm going to go ahead and put in a small bet. Look to be barreling club hand or club turn cards, most likely the ace as well. The queen is interesting. It does give me a gut shot, but I don't want to start blasting off too loose and tie myself into tripling off. I think I'd rather be blasting away with a hand like Jack-10 suited here. I think I'll go ahead and check this card, try to get a free river. Table 4, I get a 3x open. Going to go ahead and defend my big blind with 8-7 suited. Table 2, going to reopen the river for a bluff here now that it checks through. Table 3, going to open ace-jack from the button. He bets a pretty good size. I do have the backdoor flush draw. I think if I didn't have spades here, I think I would just go ahead and fold out because I've got the backdoor draw against that size. I think it's reasonable to call. Even the 7's not a great card for me as my 2 pair runs into the Jack-10 nut straight. I think calling once looking for an 8, you know, a 7 at least on some bet sizing patterns we might face, or picking up a backdoor flush draw is reason to float that flop. Against the second barrel, though, I think I'm just going to go ahead and fold. Table 3, opening queen 9 suited from middle position. Table 2, my ace-jack river bluff did get through. Now I could, on that hand, I could barrel the turn and barrel off on blank rivers, especially a river like that, the 9, where I've got blockers to the nut straight. I block Jack-10 at that point. But I think, you know, it's going to be somewhat marginal. I'm not going to get nearly enough folds. I'll get some folds. I'll get quite a few, but I don't know if I'll get enough on either the turn or the river. And I'm going to start, basically, the river bluff is to salvage what money I've already invested. It's still going to be a losing hand if I get to the river and I brick out. You know, river bluffing, if I double barrel the turn, is going to be better than just surrendering and giving up, but it's still going to be a losing proposition. When I check and, you know, he checks back, it's going to give me a free river to try to sort of bink my ace or my gut shot. And it also is going to put him in a line where my bluff is going to work more effectively. I'm going to be salvaging a larger percentage of that smaller pot, so I'm going to be losing a lot less when we go check on the turn and I get to bluff the river. You could barrel off on you could barrel the turn and barrel off on the river as well, but I think the line I took is probably going to be a little bit more cautious and a little bit more profitable overall. Table 2, I 3-bet that, I guess it's effectively the cutoff open with my pocket 10s. He goes ahead and calls. I get a king 3 rainbow board. Going to go ahead and put in a small bet with my 10s. Table 1, open ace-king from what's effectively the cutoff. The button comes along for a call. Lousy board for ace-king, 8-7-6 rainbow. We'll just go ahead and check to the in-position player. I'll really be check folding here against just about any kind of bet. Yeah, against half pot, I think that's going to be a no-brainer to fold with ace-king. I've got over pairs, you know, I've got some pairs that coordinate with the board. I've got some various straight draws and gut shots. I've got over cards with backdoor flush draws. I think all those hands are going to be better hands to continue with than ace-king, no backdoors. Table 1, opening ace-4 suited from middle position. Button comes along for the call. Recreational player comes along too. Get a 10-4 deuce two-tone board. I'm going to check range sandwich between two players in and out of position here. Flop checks through. Turn is a 5. I guess I have a gut shot to the low end. I'm going to go ahead and probe small just because making any of these overcards fold out is not the worst thing in the world for my hand. You know, as those hands all have some equity. They both call, but I get a great river. I get the 4, which pairs me up, giving me trips top kicker. Now the only question is, what size do I want to value bet? I think I want to go ahead and use a large size, primarily because we got this fish in the pot that's really going to be too inelastic and not really get away from his 10s regardless of what size I bet. I'm going to go ahead and put in sort of a 2x bet here, and I'm really targeting the recreational player behind me that just decides he can't fold some kind of pair. They were both regs on a board like that, even with a hand as strong as trips top kicker. I think I'd probably just be using the more standards, you know, 2/3 type size. But I do like trying to get big value from a recreational player, any chance I get. Table 1, we get a limper. Player limps behind. I check in my big blind with king 10. I'll check the flop. I'll probably be checking the range on this 9-9-5 board out of position to 2 players. No one shows any initiative to pick up that pot. Turn is an 8, coordinating the board more heavily. I do have a gut shot. I'm going to bet the minimum, about 1/3 pot here with my gut shot and my overcard. See if I can't pick it up cheap. I don't, but I get called in position by 1 player. I'm going to follow through here and bluff the river with my bricked king high. Table 3, going to 3-bet the middle position open, the 2.5x middle position open with ace-jack. He calls me down with pocket 7, which is a reasonable hand to call down with, but I do still like my bluff. Could maybe think about overbetting there because I've got good removal to the straight. With having the 6 in my hand that blocks 6-7, plus he doesn't show a ton of strength, limping behind on the flop, you know, limping behind pre-flop, checking behind on the flop, and then only calling that min bet on the turn. He probably doesn't have too many real strong hands. His good trips, straights, and boats have probably already tried to get some money in somewhere earlier in that pot. But I don't know that for a fact. Sometimes these guys get cute, tricky, trappy, and just play too passive. But having removal to the straight's a good reason for putting that combination in the overbet river bluff line as opposed to just a more standard size. I think the most important thing is putting the bluff in and not surrendering king high. Table 1, open king 9 from the button, get called by a recreational player in the small blind. Getting ace 6-5 rainbow board. Should he check to me, I'll be putting in a small bet. However, against the bet, I will just go ahead and fold with only a very weak draw. Excuse me. Back, we will isolate this limper with Jack 8, even though it's a little on the loose side. I like going after these wrecks. The other players haven't been 3-betting me aggressively. I think it's worth trying to play pots in position against a fish, even with a hand that's a little more marginal. I get called by both out of position blinds and the limper, so I'm not going to be stabbing at this King 7-4 board. Be looking to pick up some of the cards that give me equity on the turn, though. Primarily a spade, but I can turn some straight draws as well. Or I do have some outs to second pair. Everyone checks. I'll go ahead and take my turn check, or my flop check to see the free turn, rather. Table 2, going to open King 10 from middle position. My second pair, but I get let into by a pretty large size, especially for a four-handed pot. He bets about 2/3, 1282 into 17. And the rec calls, I am just long gone with my second pair against that action and not thinking twice about it. This guy's going to move the fish all in here, and he's going to be good almost always, unless the fish is actually trapping a straight or a set. There's the all-in bet. The fish calls off. He's got a set. Fish goes straight to the muck. Table 4, opening ace-queen from middle position. Table 2, get 3-bet in position with my king 10. I'll just go ahead and fold that. And unfortunately, Ignition is not showing me what he mucked. I'd love to know, but sure it wasn't anything too terribly strong. His bottom set took the pot, so he didn't have a set, didn't have a straight. Get a limper, limp behind. Small blind completes. I'll check my big blind with 6-7 up here on table 1. Table 3, opening ace-queen from the cutoff. Player calls me the small blind on table 4. Going to go ahead and put in a small bet on the king 9-6 two-tone board. I get 3-bet in position over here on table 3 with ace-queen. I'm going to be stacking off 10s plus ace-king against this guy. And I'm also going to be mixing in some bluffs like ace-queen offsuit and some wheel aces. Table 4, I check back the board pairing turns the 6. River is a flush closer, that queen of clubs. I'm going to go ahead and try to get some value off my second pair top kicker now. Can really only bet about half pot, can't overbet. My 4-bet bluff got through on table 3. I think that same recreational player on table 1 is back. This time he's posting his dead money after getting stacked. I'm going to go ahead and pop him up with pocket jacks, looking to go after his stack again. He limp calls. We get a queen 4 deuce rainbow board. I'm going to go ahead and put in a small bet and mostly check turns. And take it down on the flop. Table 3, going to open queen 9 suited from under the gun. Table 4, I'm facing a 2.5x open from the button. I'm in the big blind with 8-9 suited. I'm going to go ahead and put in a 3-bet with that one. Get 4-bet, however, on table 4. This is not the kind of hand you want to be defending a 4-bet with, just because you run into the low end of the straight against Ace-King on those Queen-Jack-10 boards. So one of the best boards for me is nothing but trouble. I don't need to defend too many weak-suited connectors, especially against that bigger sizing, all that much. But if I were, I'd prioritize some lower-suited connectors that don't have that reverse straight domination issue going on. Table 2, I open pocket queens, middle position. Small blind calls me, get an 8-7-3 monotone board. I do have the queen of spades in my hand. Turn is the 5 of spades, a flush closer. Also puts a potential straight out there. However, my flush would carry the day against that. He leads into me for half pot. I don't see any reason to fold. I don't see any reason to raise. I think calling is clearly the best option here with the queen of spades. So I'm just going to go ahead and call and evaluate river. River is the 7 of hearts, which pairs the board as well. This guy called from the small blind. He could be doing this with some random pocket pairs that could still pay me off. I think I want to go ahead and try to get some value, so I'm going to bet for half pot here with my queen of spades, looking to get paid off by something like pocket 9s, pocket jacks, pocket 10s with a spade in their hand, or maybe even a hand. When you call it from the small blind, you shouldn't have too many offsuit combos pre-flop to have a hand like 8-9 with the 9 of spades, but you never know. I mean, he's calling from the small blind, he might be calling all kinds of weird stuff. You know, some hands are okay to be called from the small blind, but most players that do it probably are not using the right hands and probably calling too many, so it's... His stats seem reggy, but he's calling from the small blind. I'm somewhat suspicious that he's truly a serious player by doing that. Or maybe he has a really well-designed small blind range and I'm just unaware of it and reading too much into it. It's too hard to say for sure at this point. But these are the things I'm kind of thinking about when deciding how to play that queen of spades in my hand on that 4-flush board and what kind of hands I can get value from. Table 1 will fold against the blind on blind open with my 6-4. Table 4, open king-queen from the button. Get a nice flop king-king-7 two-tone. I'm going to go ahead and put in a small bet with my trip second kicker. Really should only be losing to pocket 7s or king-7 here, as ace-king should be 3-betting me pre-flop pretty much 100% of the time in this formation. Table 1, opening king-10. Blind on blind. There's a great card for me on the turn. We get that queen of clubs giving me the nut full house at this point. I believe I want to keep betting this just because any river is going to let me keep betting, and so I want to get that pot bigger. I don't see much reason in risking blowing this guy off a hand. I'm going to use the smaller half pot sizing to keep all kinds of nonsense in there that is already drawn completely dead. If I overbet, I'm going to fold out a flush draw, which I don't want to fold because it can hit a flush and give me a big payoff on the river. That half pot bet, I can keep lots of scoofy hands in, like flush draws, maybe some mid-pocket pairs, like pocket 6s, pocket 8s, that are also drawing dead. Even if they hit what appears to be their miracle card, they just make a worse full house. So I do think betting there is good because I want that pot as big as possible on the river so I can get more value and win more money with my super strong hand. But I don't think there's too much merit in overbetting, just because I'm going to blow off too many weak hands that I want to keep in there that can't actually hurt me anyway and can only hurt themselves. So I want to charge the flush draws to get there and then punish them when they do, as opposed to overbetting and blowing them off, or as opposed to checking back and not getting value on the turn. Table 3, open 10-6 suited blind on blind. I'm going to be checking on this 9-7-4 two-tone board. Mostly check calling here with my gut shot to the second nut straight and backdoor flush draw. He goes ahead and checks back. I turn the gin card for me, the offsuit 8. I guess the only question now is, do I want to start overbetting and risk paying off Jack 10? I think I really only want to overbet for value. Well, I guess I'd be overbetting my sets here also too, so I'm going to go ahead and overbet this. Go ahead and put in that 2x pot bet. Set myself up to get a big river bet in there too. Not sure exactly. I'm going to use a smaller size with some weaker hands and some bluffs, and I'm also going to be overbetting most of my strong hands, but probably not all. I think, obviously, I can put Jack 10 in the real strong line, but I think the lower straights and sets are going to be just fine to overbet for value as well. I'm going to start shuffling up some tables as they're not nearly as promising as they were a few minutes ago. This table on the lower left seems to be Reg Haven so far. Upper right table does have a short stack. Lower right table also not looking so hot. I do have him tagged as a rec, but oh, that was because he did the spazzy play. Table 2 going to open King 5 suited from what's effectively middle position. Table 4 face a 2.5x open from the button. I'm going to 3-bet my ace 10 suited. Table 1 will defend blind on blind against the 3x open with pocket 7s. Table 2 got called by the big blind. Going to go ahead and put in a small range bet on that low monotone board. Let's see here. With pocket 7s on this blind battle on table 1, I'm going to go ahead and check it back because I'm just going to be betting into too many hands like weak Jack X, 8x. I'd rather be betting hands that have more robust equity on their draw. You know, if I hit my third 7, I'm running into trouble against 9, 10, which isn't great either. I'm going to go ahead and take a check back with this one. Can defend the 3x open against the shorty on the table number 2 with ace 3. Table 4, going to go ahead and put in a small bet with ace 10 suited on the Jack 6-4 rainbow. I do have the backdoor flush draw I can barrel on. Table 1, face a half pot bet here on that board pairing turn. I'm going to go ahead and call. 7 is now a pretty good card for me as I can make a full house there with that board pairing 6. He checks. I'm going to be content to show this down. I'm not trying to fold him off a queen, a 6, or a jack, or even really an 8, but I do beat his nonsense that he didn't bluff with. So I'm going to go ahead and take my showdown, and I beat ace 7. My ace 3 faces a small check raise. I'm just going to go ahead and fold that because we're short. Table number 2, we get a rainbow completing 9. I'm just going to go ahead and slow down with my ace 10 and check. Mostly be check folding this turn, but I can reopen the river if it checks back. Table 1, get a 2.5x button open. I'll 3-bet my small blind with ace king. I get called by the big blind on table 1. I really think I need to reopen the river over here on table 2 or table 4, even though it's kind of thin, and just turn this hand into a bluff. I want to put some pressure on some lower mid pairs. Yeah, I'm not going to get him to fold a jack pretty much ever, nor am I trying to. This 9-10 jack board is interesting in that I actually have all the sets and I've got all the king-queen as well. So I'm going to go ahead and range bet this even though it's very coordinated just because I can actually have the strong hands here even though he should have a good number of them. I can have all of them. So I can go ahead and bet that board. Now I face a raise. Play back at these to some extent. A board like this I don't think is going to be all that particularly bluff heavy from this guy. If I had some actual equity as opposed to just a gut shot and a backdoor flush draw, I would go ahead and play back at this. You know, if I had flop sets or straights, of course I'm getting those in. I think a hand like queens or jacks I can get in as well. And if I've got some kind of ace king or ace queen flush draw, that's going to go in. Or really even some weaker ace high flush draws. I guess it gets more interesting if I have a hand like queen jack, queen 10, queen 9, where I've got a pair and an open ender. But against this with ace king, I'm just going to go ahead and fold it. Table 4, opening queen 9 from the button. Called by the big blind, I'll go ahead and put in a small bet on the ace-ace-7 rainbow board. Mostly checking turns. Only checking, I think, every turn with this particular hand, as I can't think of a single turn that makes me want to keep betting. Get check called. Turn is the 10 of clubs. I'm going to go ahead and check back my queen 9 with the 9 of clubs. Table 2, opening king 5 suited from middle position. Get 3-bet in position. I'll go ahead and fold that. He checks back. The river is at deuce of clubs. Going to go ahead and put in a small bluff with my queen high. Try to fold him off a pair or king high type hand. Probably not hugely profitable, but going to be better than just surrendering, I believe. I guess queen high does have a smidge of showdown value on a paired board, a paired ace-high board, but I'm really not sure that it's going to be all that much. I think bluffing is just going to perform better than checking back and hoping my queen high is somehow good. Well, it won't be good never. It will occasionally be good, but it's going to be pretty rare, and the bluff is going to get through enough that's going to beat checking down. I'm quite comfortable with that. I've got something like a marginal pair or king high. It gets closer. I think like a marginal pocket pair is going to be okay to check down and just try to beat some high card hands like a king high. Queen high and worse should bet. King high is kind of close. Table 3, going to open ace-6 from the button. Open limping. I'm not going to give that guy any more credit for being a serious reg. Limp behind, small blind complete. I'll check in with 8-3. Table 3, get a 9-5-3 two-tone board. Going to go ahead and bet small with my ace-6. Mostly checking turns, though I guess cards like the 4 are going to be pretty good to keep betting. King of spades with no spade in my hand. I will slow down, keep the pot a bit smaller, check back, look to make something I can either value bet or bluff on the river instead. He leads into me for half pot. It's probably going to be blocking with a lot of marginal type one pair hands. I'm going to go ahead and put in the bluff raise rather than sort of try to get to showdown there for the call against that. Get a 2.5x open from the cutoff with the fishy small blind comes along for the call. I will defend my big blind. He called down with top pair, which is pretty reasonable even without the spade. Table 2, get a 3-king board. We'll go ahead and check range. Turn is the 9 of hearts. I'm going to go ahead and stab at this now. I do block some of the most likely kings. I don't care that I have a gut shot to the straight on the queen. This is more about me having removal to the king type hands. King jack, king 10 are less likely with me having them in my hands. I get called. River is the jack of hearts. I think I probably want to try to get some value out of this hand now. The question is, do I get more value by betting and getting called by ace high or a random pocket pair or checking and inducing bluffs? Given that he really shouldn't have too many hands that are calling just to try to hit a draw on the turn and then bluff on the river if they miss, I think I'm going to be better off trying to get a sticky ace high or pocket sevens to calm me down. I'm going to go ahead and follow through with the bet. Table 1, going to open king 8 suited from the cutoff. He calls. I'm not going to be able to see what he had, but my hand is good, so I think betting there helped me pick up a bet that otherwise I wouldn't have received when he checked back to have me win instead. Table 1, I open that king 8 suited from the cutoff. Some recreational players come along and call. Shorter stack big blind does as well too. He didn't seem too much like a wreck, but he is playing short. He does have some limps on his record. You get a 9-5-3 two-tone board. I do have the flush draw. I get a small bet. I'm going to go ahead and sort of flat my entire continue range here. I don't want to take single, marginal one pair hands, start bloating the pot up because I'm trying to protect them. I don't want to, sort of overplay and scare guys off when I have true strong hands, like say a set of 5s, 9s, or 3s. I think flatting is going to be the way to go here. We'll get some more information on later streets based on who does what. Or I can just go ahead and hit my draw nice and cheap, which I do. So now I have the second nut flush on that jack of spades turn. And we face a check. I normally would use a smaller size here because we're multi-way, but I'm really only going to be betting flushes and straights for value. It's hard for me to have too many bluffs, so I'm just going to go ahead and size up here, hoping these guys sort of pay too much when I've got a real strong hand. At 2/3, I think that should keep some decent hands in play. They both fold, but that's all right. Looking to build that pot and win a big one when I've got a real strong hand like the king high flush. Table 1, opening Ace-Jack under the gun. Called by a couple of half-stack recreational players in position with the Ace-Jack hand. And the big blind comes along. Decent flop for Ace-Jack, 10-9-8 rainbow. I'm going to go ahead and check range multi-way. Players in position to me, sandwiched between a bunch of guys. But looking to put some money in on this particular hand here with my open-ender, 2 overcards. He goes ahead and bets 2 into about 10, and the big blind calls. I'm just going to go ahead and call right there. I don't see any reason in check raising. I mean, I guess I can fold out some hands. I just don't know I fold enough 10x type hands out. I think I'd rather just take a cheap turn here. I'm not too worried about getting squeeze raised behind by this other fishy player. It will happen some of the time, but I'm getting such a good price. I don't care if it happens some of the time. Interesting turn card for me, the Ace of Diamonds, which gives me top pair to go with my open-ender. I am actually going to take the lead and start betting here as opposed to letting, you know, weaker draws or pair plus draw type hands, which I now dominate, go ahead and check back for free. So I'm going to go ahead and put in the small bet here with my top pair and my open-ender. Using the small size because we're multi-way. Given they have a sort of joint defense obligation here to keep me from having a profitable bluff, the smaller size puts a lot more pressure on their ranges than a bigger size does, but just lets them fold pretty much everything. Table 2, opening King 10 from what's effectively middle position. Got called all the way around on the Table 1. River is the king, which shouldn't change too much, doesn't complete any draws. Shouldn't make too many two-pair type hands. I guess King 10, King 9 could be out there to some extent. Now the decision is going to be, do we try to go ahead and get some more value out of this hand, or is it too thin? I think on a blank like that, it's probably not too bad. But multi-way, it just feels like I'm asking a lot to get called by worse. I'm going to go ahead and check. I think it's pretty close, but I think check is not too bad a decision here. Betting and getting raised just sucks. Facing that small bet, I don't mind calling that just because I have to be good so infrequently. And I could even see him be betting worse in a lot of cases for value. So I'll go ahead and gladly call that. And he has a goofy 10-5 offsuit. Any questions about this guy being a recreational player should be out of everyone's mind by now as he's calling raises with 10-5. And against a hand like that, I think my turn lead becomes even better because now he's got hands that really have to call, especially for the smaller size, but don't really have just about any cards that are good for them. You know, it's not like he's calling with some kind of high equity draw where he's got a combo draw with a pair and an open ender. He's just calling with a marginal pair that is no longer top pair now that I've hit my ace. Has no choice but to hit 2 pair of trips to redraw. So I like taking the lead there on the turn. I get a limper, then a limp behind. I've got King Queen in the small blind. I am going to pop this up. This 2 limper is going to kick it up to 7, do about 150% of the pot. Recreational player calls my ISO limp. The reg folds out. Get a King 5 deuce rainbow board. I'm going to go ahead and stab at the flop small here with my strong top pair. Comes along for the call. Turn is a 10. Trying to decide how I want to best get the rest of the money in against this guy. He's got a little over pot left. I don't think I need to go all in and scare him off. I think I can even just bet small again. Do I want to go half pot? I think the small bet's going to be just fine. Against a short guy, blind on blind, against 3x open, just going to fold my ace deuce. He moves all in. I'm calling off with my king 10. He's got the open ender, queen jack of spades. He actually picked up a dream turn card. He had no equity on the flop. He had a very strong draw on the turn. But I'm happy to still get my top pair in against him right there before he gets a chance to hit. Table 2, opening 6-8 suited from blind on blind. Get called by the big blind on table 2. Going to check to him on the ace-6-4 rainbow board. I've got second pair and a backdoor flush draw. This hand will play very nicely as a check call. Queen of Hearts, not an ideal card for me. There's now overcards could have outdrawn me. You know, hands like Queen Jack, Queen 10, and I didn't pick up any additional equity. He's continued to barrel. I'll just go ahead and fold. If that was the Queen of Spades, I, of course, would be continuing with the backdoor flush draw. That sort of marginal pair of sixes with no real strong cards for me on the river, I think I can just go ahead and fold. Table 1, going to open ace-3 suited under the gun, using a little bit larger sizing to account for this posted dead money out here by the middle position player. He comes along for the call anyway. Everyone else folds, get a king, queen, queen rainbow board, no backdoor flush draw for me. I'm just going to go ahead and check to him. Most likely be check folding this hand. If he bets anything substantial, he bets half pot. I'm just going to go ahead and fold that. Table 1, I open king, queen suited from middle position. Big blind calls, get a king 5-5 two-tone board, including a backdoor flush draw for me. I'll go ahead and put in a small bet. Button opens 2.5x on table 3. I'll defend with ace-6 of hearts and check on the flop. Decent flop, ace-10-8 two-tone, though not one I want to be bloating. I'm looking to check call or hope for it to check through and keep this pot a bit smaller. He blasts for over pot right there. Now, I do have top pair, but there's really nothing in the way of good runouts for me. The 6 runs me into the 9-7 nut straight, if not also a possible flush. Another ace makes me trips that really aren't any better than the hands that already had me in bad shape. It seems a bit tight, but I'm going to go ahead and fold a street early and just fold my marginal top pair without much future potential right now against the overbet. Table 1, get a 3x open under the gun. I 3-bet my small blind with ace-queen. Get a jack-10-9 rainbow board. Table 2 going to defend the 2.5x button open with queen-7 suited. I have jacks, 10s, 9s, and king-queen suited here. I'm going to go ahead and actually bet this board. Comes along for the call. Let's see here. Turn is a blankety-blank, the deuce. I'm going to bet really close to pot here with my open-ender and my overcards. River is a deuce. I'm not that worried about the deuce here. I'm just going to go ahead and continue to blast off here, move all in for pot. I've got good removal to the straights and the top pair, top kicker type hands. It doesn't work though, having ran into the nut straight, which I like the way he played it. Just let me barrel into him and blast away. I think my play is justifiable, even though I stacked off. But sometimes guys are going to call 3-bets with king queen offsuit and flop the nut straight against you. What are you going to do? I would not have been barreling with ace king there on the turn. I was barreling with ace queen because of the open ender giving me all that equity. Table 3, going to open Jack 8 suited from the cutoff. Get called in position, and by the big blind, we'll check range sandwich between two players on that ace queen 9 two-tone board. Turn is 3 of hearts. I'm going to go ahead and just start stabbing at this. I guess I do have a gut shot to the 10, but don't have a ton of real equity or potential with this hand. But I am going to try to pick it up here. With a small bet on the turn, I'll follow through on the river whether I brick or whether I hit. Table 3, opening pocket threes from middle position. A little on the loose side, but reasonable. Table 1, get a 3x open, blind on blind. I've got ace king suited. Going to go ahead and put in my 3-bet. In the ace-queen hand, I really should have sized up my pre-flop 3-bet because we were about 150 blinds deep. Other than that, I think the hand was played okay, but I think I should have raised bigger pre-flop. Set up a little bit more appropriate stack depths on the flop, turn, and river. I mean, I remedied it by sizing up on the turn and betting more geometric to go roughly pot-pot on the turn and the river to get them all in. But I think sizing up pre-flop is going to be a slightly better play. And it might have made him fold king-queen offsuit, so it might have made all the difference for me had I actually done that correctly. Table 1, got a 3x open from the middle position player that's been very tight and passive, only 19-10 over 65 hands. Ace-Jack is really a little too loose to 3-bet against a cutoff opener anyway, in my opinion, though it's close. Given that this guy's even more on the nitty side, his range shouldn't be as weak or as loose. I think I'm just going to go ahead and make that become an even easier fold than it otherwise would be. Table 2, opening Ace-Jack under the gun. Table 2, get a 2.5x open from the cutoff. I'll defend my big blind with ace-3 suited. He's actually been on the nitty side, so I should tighten up my defense in 3-bet range. However, ace-3 suited is still going to make a fine call even against the tighter open range. Get a queen 8-7, two-tone board. I do have the nut flush draw. He goes ahead and bets small. Trying to decide if I want to call or raise this. I think this is probably a pretty reasonable one to check raise, just because my kicker, is not going to be all that valuable to pair up for showdown value in a defense against barrel line. I think I'll just put in the check raise here. I might be more inclined to check call with something like ace-9 suited. Get called. Turn is the 7. Going to continue barreling here with my equity. I could have 7-8s, 8s full, quad 7s to already be strong. I can also have hands like 9-10, 9-6, 5-6. Bricked out, but I feel like I've got no choice but to blast off with my draw here. It's going to be a bit better than surrendering, so that's what I'm going to do. Use the overbet size, hope I didn't run into a trapped boat. I did not, and I pick up the pot with my river bluff. They do get through sometimes, even though it seems like I blast into the nuts way more often than I would like to. I do actually pick up those river pots on occasion. Table 4, we got King 4 suited in middle position. That's really just outside of standard open for me. I do have what appears to be fishy loose type players at this table, so I think I'm going to open it anyway. It's pretty close. It's on the cusp. We got this short stack that's been lipping. This guy's got some limps. They're both playing 80-90% of hands through the first orbit or two. Most likely some fish. Table 2, going to open 5-4 suited from the button. Table 3, I got a 2.5x open from the button. I'm in the big blind with Jack 4 suited, which can be a defense for a call. I will do that. Table 1, open an ace-5 suited from the cutoff. I've got a gut shot, but no real backdoor draws. I guess I can float against a small bet with the gut shot. On table 3. Table 4, just going to go ahead and check multi-way against all those players on that coordinated board. Just be check folding my King 4, no draw. On 10-9-7, two-tone. Not even really going to start stabbing the turn here on a board that coordinated with 3 players in the pot against me who appear to be fish as well. At least some of them. Against a half-pot bet, I'm just way out of there. The river on table 3 is the board pairing 3 of hearts. I'm going to go ahead and bluff with my brick to gut shot rather than surrender jack high. I think that's pretty straightforward. I'm also going to be looking to shut the session down here as the blinds come around. Table 1, get a 3x open, blind down blind. I defend with 8-9, get a queen jack 10 board. So I have the low end of the straight. He bets about 2/3 on the flop. I'm going to come along for the call. Table 3, my river bluff gets raised. I just go ahead and fold. Table 1, now he goes and bets about 2/3 again on the queen, a board pairing card on the queen. I'm going to continue calling with my straight, look for a nice clean river. The board tripping river with another queen is not what I was looking for. I don't really see how I get him to fold any kind of full house, whether it's an overpair, whether it's a Jack X or 10X type hand, or even some like middling pocket pairs to whatever extent he has those, I think I'm just going to be content to go ahead and check down against bricked air, such as Ace-6. Table 3, opening 9s from the button. Table 1, isolating from the button with 6s against a 30 blind limper out of middle position. Small blind comes along for the call, as does the big blind that stacked me a few orbits ago. And the limper comes along too. So we get a Jack 3-3 two-tone board. Table 3 will open Ace-5 suited from the cutoff. Face a 4-bet from the in-position player. Been reasonably aggressive. I'm going to be stacking off here with 10s plus Ace-King and also mixing in a few bluffs like Ace-Queen offsuit and a couple wheel aces like Ace-5, Ace-4. Going to go ahead and put in that 4-bet here with my Ace-5. Ace-5 suited. In table 1, multi-way, this guy leads for half pot. I'm just going to go ahead and fold my middling pair. And I'm ahead of draws and bluffs, but I'm just not sure how bluffy he is multi-way on a board like Jack 3-3. And outside of hitting the 6, I don't really love any runouts. I think folding's just fine there. Table 1, that same guy limps. I'll isolate from the cutoff with King-9 suited. My 4-bet did get through on table 3, which is nice. Last hand on table 1, there's going to be a fold, Jack 4 under the gun. Do have Ace-Jack under the gun on table 3, so I do get to play my last hand on this one. Put in my open and see what happens. Small blind, a shorter stack small blind comes along for a call. Getting 9-8-4 two-tone board. I'm going to go ahead and bet this small. I don't believe that is solver approved. But it's going to set me up to play this hand in a way I'm comfortable on later streets. And it can't be too bad a play on the flop, as these guys just don't attack these small bets with enough reckless abandon the way you need to truly counter them. He does check call. Turn is the King of Hearts. Puts a second flush draw up there. I do have the Ace of Hearts in my hand. Trying to think. I do want to have some single Ace Heart hands in my range to be bluffing with on the 3-heart runouts. I guess I really only have Ace Queen and Ace Jack, so I am actually going to go ahead and put this into the turn bluffing range and look to dust off on rivers where the 3rd heart comes in. I overbet, maybe go a little bit smaller against the shorter stack, but I think it's okay to overbet there on that board that doesn't really complete anything, or that turn card. And I pick up the pot, so that's the end of the session for now. Thank you very much for watching. Till next time, this is Charlie Murphy signing off.